I kept thinking maybe tomorrow you'd be different. I stayed inside your patterns like they'd eventually shift, telling myself your distance was something temporary, not a rift. You showed me who you were, but I chose what I could see, turning small moments of effort into what I needed them to be. I built a version of you that never really stayed, and held on to that illusion every time you pulled away. I kept hoping you'd change into someone who would choose me, someone who would stay the way I needed you to be. I waited for a version that never came through. I kept hoping you'd change. Instead of seeing you, you gave me just enough to keep me holding on. Never fully present, never fully gone. And I filled in every silence with promises you never made, like love could grow stronger just because I stayed. I ignored what was real for what I wish was true, but hope can be a heartbreak when it's built on you. I kept hoping you'd change, past every warning sign, turning all your distance into something I could define. But love isn't waiting for someone to become new. I kept hoping you'd change, and that's what broke me too. Maybe you didn't fail me, I just believed in someone you were never trying to be. I don't think you meant to, but somewhere along the way I stopped being hard to lose. I made it easy for you to stay without ever needing to try. Gave you all the space you wanted, never asked you why. I held back every feeling that might have made you choose, and slowly turned into someone you didn't have to lose. I thought love meant being gentle, never asking for too much, but I disappeared in silence just to keep your touch. I became easy to leave without you even trying. No reason to hold on, no moment worth fighting. I gave you all of me without making you see. I became easy to leave, and that's what happened to me. I stopped taking up space, stopped asking for your time, turned my needs into nothing just to keep you mine. You never had to choose me, I never made it hard. I gave you all the freedom while breaking my own heart. I thought if I stay quiet you'd never walk away, but silence doesn't hold someone who doesn't want to stay. I became easy to leave, no waiting your goodbye, no reason left to fight for, no tears left to hide. I made myself forgettable just to keep the peace. I became easy to leave, the truth. I didn't lose you, I just made it too easy to. You didn't notice how much of me was slowly disappearing into you. I gave without a question, never asked for anything back. Turned all my needs to silence, just to keep us intact. You never saw the difference between easy and unfair. I made it look like nothing while I was giving you everywhere. I thought love was quiet, thought it didn't need a voice. But losing pieces of myself was never really a choice. I gave you everything quietly, every part of me unseen. All the love I never said, all the space in between. You took it like it was nothing, like it came naturally. I gave you everything quietly, and it cost all of me. I stay soft in every moment, even when it started to hurt. You never had to fight for me, I made love and me easy first. I kept shrinking just to fit into what you needed me to be. But love shouldn't feel like disappearing just to keep somebody. I didn't say I was breaking, I didn't make a sound, but silence doesn't mean nothing's falling down. I gave you everything quietly until there was nothing left. No voice to defend myself, no heart to protect. You never had to lose me, you never had to see. I gave you everything quietly and forgot about me. Maybe that's what hurts the most. You didn't take too much, I just never kept anything from me. I didn't notice at first how much I was letting go of myself. I started calling it enough when it barely felt like care, turning small attention into something always there. You gave me half your presence, I treated it like home, like I didn't see the difference between empty and control. I lowered every standard just to keep you close and convince myself it was love I chose. I learned to accept less just to feel like I was yours, holding on to fragments, calling them something more. I shrank into your silence so I wouldn't lose the rest. I learned to accept less and forgot what I deserve best. I stopped asking questions I didn't want to hear, like truth would only break what I was trying to keep here. You never had to change, I did it all for you, bending into something I thought you want me to. I told myself it's normal that love feels this way, but something in me knew I was fading every day. I learned to accept less until there was nothing Maybe that's the lesson. Love shouldn't cost who you are. I think I knew the truth. I just kept rewriting it so it wouldn't hurt as much. I said you were just tired when you stopped calling at night. Told myself you needed space, not that something wasn't right. I turned your distance into reasons I could live within my head. Like love doesn't disappear just because it isn't said. I covered every silence with words you never gave, building something stable out of something that wouldn't stay. I made excuses for you, like it will make it true. Like if I understood enough, I wouldn't lose you. I bent every red flag into something I could use. I made excuses for you while you were cutting me loose. You stopped showing up the same, but I said it was just stress. Like effort doesn't fade when love is still its best. I defended every absence, every moment you withdrew, but the truth was getting louder in everything you didn't do. I tried to make it make sense, try to keep it alive, but you can't fix a feeling that's already said goodbye. I made excuses for you until there was nothing left, no version of your love I could still protect. I finally saw it clearly, what I refused to choose. I made excuses for you, and that's how I lost me too. Maybe you didn't lie, I just didn't listen when the truth was quiet. I think I knew before I admitted it. I was already staying too long. I kept finding reasons to believe it wasn't done, like love could still be fixed if I just held on. You stopped showing up, but I stayed the same, holding on to something that you stopped trying to name. I felt it in the silence, in the way you pulled away, but I kept telling myself it was just a phase. I stayed longer than I should in something falling through, held on to every piece that reminded me of you. I gave more than I had just to keep it good. I stayed longer than I should. Longer than I should. You stopped talking about forever like it wasn't yours to keep, and every quiet moment cut a little too deep. I made excuses for your distance like it wasn't what it meant, but love doesn't disappear without leaving a hint. I saw it in your absence, even when you stayed, how something once so certain could slowly start to fade. I stayed longer than I should, past every warning sign, tried to save what wasn't mine, tried to turn back time, no ending left to fight, no reason that I could. I stayed longer than I should. Maybe love love didn't fail. I just didn't leave when I knew I should. I didn't leave, not when it started hurting, not when it stopped feeling right. I stayed through all of it. I stayed when things got quiet, when the distance started growing, when your words felt unfamiliar and your feelings stopped showing. I told myself it's normal that love changes with time, but deep down I could feel it, you were already leaving mine. I kept holding conversations that were barely even there, trying to keep us alive like you still cared. I thought staying meant something, thought it proved I was strong, but I was just holding on to something already gone. I stayed through it all, every silence, every fall, every moment you pulled away. I was there through it all, I gave you all my patience, every piece, every call. I stayed through it all, but it didn't matter at all. I stayed when you got distant, when you stopped choosing me, when love turned into something I had to beg to see. I made excuses for your absence like it wasn't what it meant, but love doesn't slowly disappear without leaving a hint. You stopped trying to reach me, I kept reaching twice as far, closing every space between us while you drifted where you are. I kept telling myself this is what love does, but love shouldn't feel like losing all of us. And maybe I stayed too long, past every warning sign, past the point of saving what was never mine. I thought if I didn't leave it wouldn't fall apart, but staying doesn't fix a disappearing heart. I stayed through it all, when you gave me almost nothing, held on to every piece that kept me believing something. But love shouldn't feel like I'm the only one involved. I stayed through it all, and still it fell apart. Maybe that's the truth, I didn't lose you, I just stayed when I should have left. I thought this was love, the quiet, the waiting, the way I kept choosing you, even when you didn't choose me. I thought love was patience, was learning how to stay, even when it started hurting in a quiet kind of way. I thought love was given without needing it returned, like if I kept on trying, it was something I could earn. You never had to say it, I just filled in every space, turning all your distance into something I could chase. I made sense of your silence, like it meant something true, but I was just creating meaning in the absence of you. I thought love was this, feeling alone together, holding on to something that wouldn't last forever, giving everything I had just to feel like I exist. I thought love was this. I thought love was waiting for someone to come around, staying through the distance without making a sound. I thought love was smaller than everything I gave, like I had to fit inside it instead of being brave. You made it look so easy to give me almost enough, and I kept calling that love when it was never even close. I ignored every feeling that tried to pull away, because leaving felt harder than choosing to stay. Maybe I was confusing love with holding on, with staying past the moment everything felt wrong. Maybe love is in silence, maybe it's not pain, maybe it doesn't leave you begging to be chosen again. I thought love was this, but now I finally see it shouldn't feel like losing every part of me. It shouldn't feel like waiting or questioning what exists. I thought love was this, but love isn't this. Believed in something it was never meant to be. I don't think I ever said it, but I felt it every time you didn't choose me first. I was always waiting on you, like I came after everything else. You gave your time so easily to everyone but myself. I told myself it wasn't real, just something in my head. But love shouldn't feel like I'm the option left instead. I learned to ask for less so I wouldn't feel the gap, but shrinking myself for you never brought me back. I was always second, never who you choose, just someone you kept when you had nothing to lose. I gave you first place in everything I do. I was always second, standing next to you. You never had to say it, I could feel it in the way you'd hesitate with me, but never with the rest of them you stay. I tried to earn a place that should have been mine, but love isn't something you wait in line to find. I kept proving my worth like it wasn't already there, but you can't make someone see you if they never really care. I was always second until I finally knew I was losing myself, trying to be enough for you. No more waiting my time, no more standing behind. I was always second until I changed my mind. Maybe I wasn't second, maybe I was just given first place to someone who never deserved it. I kept trying in ways you never asked for, but somehow it was never enough. I changed the way I spoke to you, softened every word, like maybe if I was easier, I'd finally be heard. I gave you every version of who I thought you'd need, but no matter how I shaped myself, you never chose to see. I searched inside your silence for something I could prove, like love was something I could earn if I just gave more of me to you. I started blaming pieces of myself I couldn't fix, when maybe all along love was never this. I was never enough, no matter what I gave. I kept trying to be everything while you pulled away. I lost myself completely just to feel your touch. I was never enough, and I felt it too much. I watched the way you chose others so easily, so sure, while I was standing next to you, still trying to be more. You never said it out loud, but I could feel the truth in every moment. I reached for you and you didn't reach me too. I made excuses for the distance like it wasn't what it meant, but love doesn't feel uncertain when it's real, when it's present. I kept lowering the standard of what I thought was love, just to fit inside a feeling that was never enough. Maybe it was never me. Maybe I didn't fall short. Maybe I was just loving someone who couldn't give that support. But it's hard to believe that when you're the one who stayed and the one who kept breaking in every quiet way. I was never enough, but I don't believe it now. I was just giving everything to someone who didn't know how to hold something real, to see what I gave. I was never enough for someone who couldn't stay. Maybe that's the truth. I wasn't not enough. I was just too much for someone who couldn't love me right. You didn't have to ask. I was already there every time. Every late night silence, every time you felt alone, every moment you were breaking, I made it feel like home. I showed up without a question, never needed you to say that you needed someone with you. I just stayed anyway. You never had to look for me. I was always close behind, like loving you was something I didn't have to decide. I made it feel so easy, like I never disappear. But being always there for you made me slowly disappear. I was there every time, every high, every low. When you needed somebody, I was already home. But when I needed you, there was nothing to find. I was there time. You weren't there for mine. I memorized your patterns, every way you'd fall apart. Learned how to hold your silence like it wasn't breaking my heart. I gave you all my patience, every version of my care, but you got used to having me like I'd always be there. You never saw the difference between love and what I gave, because I never made it hard enough for you to be afraid. I thought love meant consistency, but never walking away. But I was just teaching you I'd stay no matter what you gave. And maybe that's the reason you never learned to try. You never felt the distance, you never felt goodbye. I was always in the background, holding everything in place, while you lived without the weight of what I chose to face. I was there every time, but it didn't mean a thing. When something's always given, it stops feeling like something. I gave you all my presence, every piece, every sign. I was there every time, but you were never mine. Maybe that's what hurts the most. Not that I loved you, but that I was always there, and it never mattered. It felt like love, but only from one side, and I stayed like it was enough. I gave you everything I had without asking for it back, like loving you alone could somehow fill the lag. You took what I was offering but never gave it shape, and I kept calling it love while it slowly turned to ache. I felt it in the quiet, in the way you didn't try, how something so one-sided still took all of me inside. I was loving you alone while you were standing there, holding on to something you were never really in. I gave you all my heart, you gave me empty space. I was loving you alone and calling it the same. You never had to leave me, you were never really here, just close enough to keep me holding on to what I feared. I kept rewriting moments like they meant more than they did, but truth doesn't need words to show you what it is. I try to make it balance, try to make it real, but love can't survive on something only I can feel. I was loving you alone with nothing left to prove. No matter how I stayed, it never reached you. No fight, no goodbye, just something never grown. I was loving you alone, and now I'm letting go. Maybe it wasn't love, just me loving enough for two. You never asked me to stay, but I did. like it meant something to you. I kept showing up for nothing, like you noticed someday. Standing in the silence, waiting for you to say anything that sounded like you needed me around. But I was just a presence you never really found. I gave my time so freely, without you asking me to. But love shouldn't feel like something only I choose. I was waiting without being asked, holding on to something that wouldn't last, giving you pieces you never claimed, calling it love when it wasn't the same. You never needed me like I did you. I stayed anyway like I had something to prove. I was waiting without being asked, and losing myself in that past. You never told me to go, but you never said to stay. And I lived inside that space every single day, reading into nothing like it meant something real. But silence isn't love, no matter how it feels. I kept hoping you noticed the way I never left, that you don't miss something you never really cared. I was waiting without being asked, and that's what made it last. Maybe that's what it was. Not love, just me waiting. No breaking point, just distance. We didn't change overnight, it was quieter than that. Less laughter in the night, more silence in the gaps. You still sat close to me, but it didn't feel like we. Just two people sharing space, with something fading in its place. I kept pretending it's fine, while watching love unwind. No fight, no final scene, just losing what we'd been. And I don't know when it started, when we became half-hearted, but I felt it in your tone. I wasn't yours anymore. We drifted apart, no crash, no sound, just something missing all around. We drifted apart, slow and low, till we became strangers we used to know. We slipped, we drifted. You stopped reaching for my hand like I wasn't in your plans. Every moment felt unsure, like we weren't us anymore. I memorized your fading care, the way you looked but weren't quite there. You were there but not with me, just someone I couldn't keep. I could have asked you what went wrong, but I knew it all along. There was nothing left to say, just the love I couldn't break. And maybe that's what hurt me more. No final moment at the door, just space growing in between everything we used to mean. We drifted apart without goodbye, just two hearts fading side by side. We drifted apart, and now love doesn't fall. Maybe it just loses all the weight it used to hold so tight, until it fades out of sight. And I hate how clearly now we became something somehow that wasn't meant to last, just echoes from the past. I replay the quiet nights where everything felt almost right, but deep inside I always knew I was already losing you. Some endings don't arrive. Some endings don't arrive. We drifted apart, and I still remain living in echoes of your name. We drifted apart, and I still see what we used to be. We drifted apart, and now it's clear the end didn't come. We disappeared. We didn't break at once. We just drifted apart. We just drifted apart. I think that's what hurts the most. Not that we ended, but how little you fought for it. I kept showing up for us, even when it felt one-sided. You let everything fall apart, like you were never invited. I searched for any effort, any sign you still cared, but every time it mattered, you just weren't there. I would've stayed through anything if you gave me something real, but silence was your answer to everything I feel. You didn't even try, not once, not for us. I was holding everything while you let go too much. No fight, no resistance, no reason why. You didn't even try, you just let it die. I made space for your distance, called it something I could fix, but love doesn't survive when it's one-sided like this. You watched me slowly breaking and didn't reach for me, like losing me was easier than trying to be. I kept waiting for a moment where you finally choose, but you stayed exactly the same with nothing left to lose. You didn't even try, and that says enough about what I meant to you and what we never were. No goodbye to remember, no tears to justify. You didn't even try, and that's why I'm saying goodbye. I used to wonder what went wrong. Now I see it clearly. It wasn't that we couldn't work, you just never wanted to. You never asked me to stay, you just knew I wouldn't leave. You gave me just enough to hold on, never enough to feel secure. kept me somewhere in the middle, where everything stayed unsure. I learned to read between your silences like they meant something real. But empty spaces don't change, no matter how much you feel. You never had to try too hard. You knew where I'd be, waiting in the same place, right where you left me. You knew I would stay. No matter what you did, no matter how distant, no matter what you hid, I kept choosing you, like I had something to prove. You knew I would stay, even when you didn't choose. I made your inconsistency feel like something I could trust. Turned your hesitation into something more than us. You never had to promise, you never had to try. I stayed through every absence without asking why. I thought love meant patience, thought it meant holding on, but I was just standing still while you were already gone. You knew I would stay through every subtle sign, through every quiet moment. You crossed another line. I gave you all my loyalty, you gave me room to lose. You knew I would stay, so you never had to choose. Maybe that's the truth. You didn't keep me, you just knew I wouldn't leave. You never told me to stay, but you never let me go either. And somehow that felt like hope. You kept the door half open, just enough to pull me in. Never fully mine to keep, never somewhere I could begin. You gave me small reminders, like it still meant something real, just enough to keep me holding on to what I couldn't feel. I stayed inside your silence, like it had something to say, turning every little moment into reasons I should stay. I thought love was patience, thought it meant holding on, but I was just holding on to something already gone. You let me hold on when you knew I shouldn't, gave me just enough when you knew it wasn't. You didn't stop me, you didn't make it clear. You let me hold on while you disappeared. You never made a promise, but you never drew a line. Left me somewhere in between what was yours and never mine. I filled in all the silence with words you never said, built a whole reality inside my head. You watched me keep believing in something fading fast, but you never had to stop me, you just let it last. I kept choosing you daily, even when you didn't try. But love shouldn't feel like waiting to be denied. And maybe you didn't mean to, maybe you just didn't care, but indifference can break someone when they're always there. I would've let go sooner if you told me the truth. The silence gave me something I could still hold on. You let me hold on past every warning sign, past every quiet moment I tried to redefine. I gave you all my stay and you gave me almost love. You let me hold on when that was already enough. Maybe that's what broke me. Not that you left, but that you let me stay longer than I should've. what hurt the most was realizing it was never really me you picked. I was always standing close to you, but never in your plans. You kept me in the in-between, just out of your hands. I gave you all my certainty, you gave me maybes instead. And I kept building something real on words you never said. I tried to be enough for you in every way I know, but love shouldn't feel like something I have to prove. You never chose me, not really, not once. I was just a place you stayed when you needed someone. No matter how I loved you, I never broke through. You never chose me, and I finally see the truth. You kept one foot out the door, even when you held me close, like I was something temporary you just didn't wanna lose. I ignored the hesitation and every little thing, how you never said my name like it meant everything. I stayed through all the silence, through every subtle sign, but you can't make someone choose you no matter how you try. You never chose me, even when I stayed, even when I gave you every part of me to take. No fight, no goodbye, just truth I can't undo. You never chose me, and now I'm choosing me over you. Maybe that's the ending, not losing you, but finally not losing myself. You never said it, not once, not even close. And somehow that silence stayed louder than everything else. I waited for a moment that never really came, where you'd look me in the eyes and take a little blame. But you carried on so easily, like nothing left a mark, while I was sitting with the weight of everything that fell apart. I replayed the way you left, like I missed a hidden sign, like maybe if I saw it clearer I could say it was fine. But there was no explanation, no truth you gave to me, just an ending without meaning and a silence I couldn't leave. I told myself you'd feel it someday down the line, that you'd come back with the words you couldn't find in time. But hope started fading with every passing day, when silence became the only thing you chose to say. You never said sorry, not even once. No waiting, you're leaving, no pause, no response. I carried all the damage you never chose to see. You never said sorry, and it stayed with me. It never stayed with me. I held on to the question of what I meant to you, but silence was the only answer that ever came through. I tried to make it smaller, like it didn't hurt that bad, like losing you without a word was something I just had. I blamed it on the time and all things I couldn't control, like maybe it was easier than facing what you stole. You never had to face it, never had to explain how you walked away so gently and still left all the pain. And I kept searching for closure in places it wouldn't be, because you never turned around to finish it with me. I thought I needed your apology to finally move on, like healing needed permission from what was already gone. But truth started settling in ways I couldn't ignore. Some endings stay unfinished because they're not yours anymore. But they're not yours anymore. to make it understood, but you don't find closure in someone who won't stay. And words don't come from silence that chose to walk away. I kept carrying your absence like it still belonged to me, but letting go means accepting what will never be. You never said sorry, but I don't need it now. I stopped waiting for your voice to tell me how. I found something stronger than what you never gave away. To let it end without needing to be saved. You kept your silence, I found my release. You never said sorry, but I made my peace. Maybe that's the ending, not here and I'm sorry, but realizing I deserve to. I didn't say anything, but that didn't mean there was nothing there. I held my words like fragile glass, afraid they break the air. So I stayed quiet through it all, pretending I was fine there. You never asked what silence meant, you never looked that deep. You heard nothing in my stillness while I was trying not to speak. I thought you'd feel it anyway, without me having to explain. But silence isn't understood when love doesn't remain. You took my silence like I had nothing to say, like all the things I held inside just faded away. But every quiet moment was louder than it seemed. You took my silence like it didn't mean anything. I softened every feeling so it wouldn't scare you off. Turned my voice into a whisper when things were getting rough. You never saw the effort in what I chose to hide, how much I kept within me just to keep you by my side. I was screaming in the quiet, hoping you'd hear through, but silence doesn't reach someone who isn't listening.